This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.
For me, I had to go in and really understand before I put anything in this world that I want to change in this world, before I start to go, okay, I'm going to create something out there because I'm a creative. I had to first create within me.
Hello, I'm Maritza Barone. Welcome to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. Has there ever been a moment in your life where you heard, read, or were told something that you simply could not unhear?
Something that made you stop in your tracks and helped you to see the world differently in some way, a better way. On this podcast, we create those life-changing moments for you through interviews with some of the world's most profound people around the globe. We explore groundbreaking ideas in health and well-being.
What we're really doing is getting to the root cause of your symptoms. And often we find that that is an emotional block that we have been carrying around in our body that's become almost crystallized and created a physical symptom.
Relationships.
And for women as well, when I talk about respect, it's called respecting yourself, which is don't overgive. Women will tend to put themselves one down, and then wake up at 40 and go, wait a second, I am woman, I deserve respect.
Personal and professional transformation.
This is true of any skill. You only develop it by doing it. And so, if you don't get out there and just start doing it and being a bit rough around the edges at the beginning, you can't work on your craft. And so it can't turn into something.
Spirituality.
Because I think when we know who we really are, we think we're our name and our body and our form and our hair and our clothes and our skin and but when we know who we really are as infinite beings, we're free.
And so much more. So settle in. This might just be a big day for you where you hear something that changes your life in the most transformative way. Welcome back, friends. Today on the Things You Can't Unhear episode, which is in its 5th year, I invite my good friend Bessie Kay to chat to us. She's a talented producer, a presenter, and media professional. And she joins me for a fascinating conversation to explore the highs and lows of the media world and the life lessons that have come from working in such a competitive industry for so long. Now, whether you're interested in media or not, this can apply to anyone in any industry. And it's a fascinating take on really looking into what serves us and what doesn't. As well as Bessie being a great friend of mine, she's also my former business partner and work colleague. And like me, we've worked in the entertainment and media industry for a long time. It's an industry that from the outside looking in, it looks shiny, it looks exciting, and it can be. But it's also one that from the inside can really test your resilience and your self-belief. Today's a peek into her experience in the industry that actually broke her and how she put herself back together over time. Why she struggles now to watch and create television after being involved in it for more than 20 years. Why she believes the people that surround you are absolutely critical to your growth. And why she never engages in drama or gossip, plus so much more. As you'll hear, Bessie has a really powerful way with words that really help you to reflect on life's purpose and meaning. So maybe grab a cuppa and a pen of paper, because there are some really profound statements in this chat that you can certainly take away for yourself. Bessie always speaks from the heart. She is probably one of the kindest people I know. She's a creative for the world. And now that TV is no longer in her current focus, she continues to build colourful and exciting opportunities for others through her love for dance. You will absolutely love listening to Bessie. Enjoy the chat. To support the show and get this Things You Can't Unhear podcast out to as many people this year, it would mean a lot to me if you shared a review on Apple Podcasts or just gave us a rating on the listening app you are tuning in from today. If you could press pause and do it right now. That would be amazing. Also, don't forget to share your biggest takeaway, your things you can't unhear with me on social media, on Instagram at Things You Can't Unhear. Welcome, Bessie Kay, to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast.
Oh, I'm so excited to chat with you, Maritza. I just have such beautiful, fond memories of us working together and playing together and doing life together.
I know, and this is so overdue, Bess. You know, you've been in my life for many, many years. I actually remember the first encounter when you came into my life. I remember receiving your show reel. I was working for a media company and you had applied to be a presenter at this company, and I received your show reel in my inbox. And I remember just being in awe of it. I actually showed it to the entire office and I said, guys, check this one out, because we kept getting applications. Yours came through and it just blew us all away, and everyone's like, hire her immediately, really quickly. And so
that's so funny.
Yeah.
I think that's so beautiful, but that to me, I can't even picture the time of doing something like that with you. My memories of you is literally how much you helped me raise my children. Support for me at that period of my life was beautiful.
Oh, it's interesting, how you think of old friends and where they fit in and what they helped you with. It's interesting. But you're right. We did go on after that to produce a TV series called Wing It Baby, which we had some fun around the early parenting days of. We both got 2 daughters now, so we had some great fun around that. You had me dancing in supermarkets and in streets, all in front of camera, which I will never forgive you for. It was hilarious and very uncomfortable for me, but you always bring so much fun to the world. I think you always you've got this element of fun through what you do that I absolutely love. And, these are the things I know about you, Bessie, and I wanted to share this with everyone today because they're going to get to know you in this chat, but obviously I know you really well. These are the things I know about you. You are always smiling. I have never met anyone who smiles as much as you, and you still don't have any wrinkles from it. So it's just amazing.
Oh, yes, I do.
You always say I love you when you leave or when you end a phone call. And I've actually adopted that with all of my people. And thank you for that. That was a beautiful gift that you gave to me. You love to dance, and dance loves you. And as people can see, you've got the greatest curls I've ever seen in my life as well. So you truly are like sunshine. It's quite interesting because you've called one of your daughters Sunny, and you fully embody that. But I want to know, tell me about you, Bess. Where did you get this sunny personality, and where did you grow up? Tell me about young Bessie a little bit so you can frame who you are.
I just love you. I'm actually getting emotional with you saying
Me too.
That. Gosh, we need a proper catch up, don't we? I love that you say that, and they're really beautiful things to hear. I've probably adapted an optimistic attitude, I guess, through my parents and my upbringing. My dad is a very jovial man, and he still is today. A Greek man, would sing to his customers in the petrol station, and has always had a good outlook on life. And same with my mum. When you talk about like where that kind of attitude has come from, I do believe that we learn a lot from what we marinate in early in life. Today, like what you would experience as being, just joy or just happiness or a smiley face. I think today where I stand in that ability to be able to smile actually comes from acknowledging a lot of pain and acknowledging a lot of growth and being able to, I guess, find peace, and not every day, obviously, but trying to find peace in the process of having been broken and then rebuilding again in a way that is actually authentic to who I am as a person. So I guess it's a hard question to answer, but the joy does come from knowing that not every day is sunny, but I still believe you can find joy through the process of going through some dark valleys.
100%. I think you answered that perfectly. Is you bringing in joy even in dark situations, because it helps you come out of them and it helps you release what you're going through. And it's beautiful. And you always think, you look at happy people and you think, oh, they must have the best life. They must be so fulfilled and content with where they're at and have no trauma or issues. But it's not always the case, is it?
No, in fact, sometimes it's those trauma and issues and getting on the other side of it that helps people to understand and truly have a great perspective of what joy is and what happiness is and what contentment is. And for so long in my life, babe, I aimed for something that wasn't achievable and attainable. So I knew that it existed. I knew joy existed, and I knew to be joyful because I'd seen that in my family, and I do and always have believed in good in the world. But life circumstance can take you down paths where you sometimes get hopeless and feel like, is life good? Are people good? Am I good? Like, where is the joy in this process? And it's through going through that valley and going through the process that we actually get to the point where we can have strength and go, yeah, even in this, I still believe that there's joy in the morning.
You talk about, trying to achieve the unachievable goals and
Mm.
and what that does to you. What do you feel like it did to you on a personal level?
Well, I guess for people listening that don't necessarily know my story, my goals were always, I'm an ambitious person. Let's just say that I've always had ambition. I come from a small business, a family that had small business, so I've always had a good work ethic, and I've understood that you can strive for things and you can reach them. And then working in what I think is a barren industry here in Australia, and we were in that together in the media industry, first in the dance industry and then the media industry. Everything was a strive. So it was about kind of achieving, being the best and trying to build that professional profile and trying to gain and trying to just rise higher in an industry that's really hard and self-driven.
Mm-hmm.
You and I both know that in the media industry in Australia, in the entertainment industry in Australia, you're just not going to get handed a silver spoon. You will work for everything that you've got. And so that kind of created this drive for me to keep on going higher. But you can't go high unless you go deep first. And there was my kind of journey of understanding that about 5 or maybe 6 years ago, where I realized, okay, I've strived my whole life to try and build this tall professional mountain, but in the process I've neglected my ability to be able to grow my personal and emotional wellness in order to match the tower of success that I was striving towards. So everything was about this drive and this goal of getting and being, probably so that I could be validated, to be honest. And I'd never really even tried to uncover or even figure out who I was as a person, and never really gave myself the space and invested in myself to figure out what I needed as a person, as a woman, as a mum, in order to grow resilience, in order to grow my own value and worth first, so that I could strive and match that ambition that I had professionally. We're only going to get as high as we go deep.
It is a very tricky and confronting industry. And for those who haven't been a part of it, we've got lots of people in our network that are, you can get that many rejections time after time. It's the comparison, it's the self-judgment. It is the wonder of why on earth you are pushing so hard to be part of something that hurts you so much again and again and again. And I think in that come these big questions that we begin to ask ourselves. And I mean, I've had it. I know so many of my friends have always had these questions. And then you get breakthroughs, though. The breakthroughs that make it all okay for a little while. And then it's not again. So it is climbing halfway up a mountain and falling back down, and climbing 3/4 of the way up and then falling back down. It's a constant and struggle. And I love the way that you have acknowledged, and I wish we knew this when we were younger, is that be comfortable with who we are, understand who we are at the core, and all of these rejections won't mean as much. They won't mean anything because that wasn't meant for us anyway.
Yeah, I think when so much of our industry and our job, and again, like I say this to you because we were in it together, came down to what someone accepted of us. So when we were making, TV shows in a space where we were trying to get TV onto digital, and we were probably pioneering a way, to be honest, let's face it, Maritza, because we were doing something that wasn't the norm, which today is the norm.
That's right.
And we were doing it a little bit, we preempted it a little bit. But, we're going into these mountains and we're tackling these mountains, but all of it, because they were big funded things, we needed people. And in any job that you did, even you as a presenter on your own and with the podcast and everything, it was all about seeking somebody else's validation of us. And that's how the industry is based. That's what it's set up on. So I'm going to put something out, someone needs to pick it up. And unless we understand that our worth and our value is not determined by whether or not it lands with somebody else, and our worth and value is not determined based on somebody else's opinion of us, then we are in a really vulnerable state. What are we doing to heal and protect and grow and nurture that vulnerable state?
What actions do you think you'd take differently if you were to do it again? I mean, it's not all, it's because, yes, we want to achieve this goal, but it's also a financial thing too, because we need money through the door and we need a job that's paying us. So what advice would you give to yourself now, to your 20-year-old self, or, you know, your
Well, I do this now with Indy. Like, my daughter's 11 or 10, and and half of me going through this journey was actually seeing a little mini version of me right in front of my eyes and not wanting to instill in her things that I had adapted. I wanted her to be able to have the best step forward. She's a very creative person. I'm a very creative person. Very like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, you know, like it's the world's your oyster type of thing. But with that kindness and with that goodness, there needs to be a depth in value in that person. So for me, I had to go in and really understand, before I put anything in this world that I want to change in this world, before I start to go, okay, I'm going to create something out there because I'm a creative, I had to first create within me. So I had to learn how to first love and value the parts of me that I didn't accept before I could even start to put them out in the world. And doing that, the process of looking after myself and valuing myself and going, okay, well, that's not perfect, but that's okay. Or that was a failure, but that doesn't mean I'm a failure. Or, you know, just really defining my identity. I often say I had a fractured identity, and it was about putting those pieces back together again to make it a strong identity. Then I'm able to go out into the world and do a million things because I know who I am and why I am. And I love instilling that in my children today. So first and foremost, I take them to school and I say, I love you. I'm a faith-filled woman, so I'm constantly praying for my kids and hoping that they flourish in the way that they're supposed to, without me controlling it, but it being a bit of a divine thing. But I say I love you no matter what happens today. And when I pick you up from school today, no matter if you succeeded or if something happened that was hard, no matter what anybody says to you today, you are coming home to a mum and a dad and a family and grandparents that love you and accept you wholeheartedly, completely unconditionally. But a lot of it was coming back to my culture too, and that's another beautiful thing I get to share with you. The word love in Greek, us being Greek women, is not love. Like, there's different forms of love in the Greek language, but the word love, being agape, actually means to love the unlovable. It means true unconditional love. And that agape love is what I started to really marinate in for myself so that I could then pour that out into the world as well, because no one's perfect. I'm not perfect, and neither is anybody else.
Oh, so I love that so much. It's beautiful. And I didn't actually know that until you told me a few years ago. Do you feel like there was a breaking point for you, or a point of realization, or was it just a thing that over time you'd had enough of?
No, I literally face planted.
Oh.
I know, and I can laugh about it today, but again, like, that's the joy out of it's like going through the fire, right? And getting to a point where you don't smell like smoke anymore. And that's being able to find that joy through the darkness, the treasures in darkness, I always say. But yeah, I don't know how long ago it was now, about 6 years ago, I did a job. That job it pressed on every part of me as a person, and it rippled through into my networks and relationships and things like that. So it was quite a public fall. And that made me get to a point in my life where I probably lost hope. And for me, that's extreme because I've always been hopeful. So the fact that I got to that point where I didn't have any more hope, I didn't have any more faith, and I didn't know who I was, it was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. So it was just too long striving and thriving and trying to achieve without honoring who I was as a person. And that job was the thing that stopped everything for me. And I had to rebuild again. So I moved. I did a year in Melbourne, and then it was COVID. So we moved to regional Victoria, which at the time we could just say, oh, we're moving because of COVID, but really we moved to regional Victoria because I was running away from my problems. By doing that, though, I allowed myself to have some space. We had a beautiful property that we purchased that I was able to get into the garden and give myself the space that I needed to learn a thing or two about myself and not be in the strive of the world, which was new for me because since I was 18 years old, I was always in that grind. And I learned to rebuild in that space because something had happened that made me full.
You know, you say running away from your problems, but I don't think it is running away from your problems. I think it is exactly what you said it was. It's giving your time the space and honoring yourself to say, I actually need to hit the pause button because I don't know what's going on here. And you know what was probably going on is that you were growing and you'd made a
Oh my
massive
gosh.
realization.
It was definitely a growth season, but I didn't know. I didn't know that I was
Exactly.
running. I didn't know that I needed to pause. It had to happen for me because otherwise it would never have happened. And the fact that it did really just made me just see things in a completely new light, made me have the ability to be able to process. I was in a place where I was surrounded by unconditional love because I went home to the country where my family is, and I needed that as well, just that environment to be able to thrive. Like, the environment is so important when you go on your wellness journey, like we all have, or sometimes we want to. It seems like it's going to be this, I'm finally going to submerge myself and then I'm going to come up and I'm going to just feel better because I'm going to have dealt with things and it's going to be a new life. That process takes so long. So making sure that we're in the right environment to go through that process is so vital. So instinctively, I was going home to unconditional love so that I could be in a space where I could learn and grow and heal and be messy. Messy Bessie, I needed to get there and then go, okay, what doesn't serve me within myself? I've got a girlfriend, she's a ex-client that has turned into a friend, and her name's Justine Campbell, but she's a Brene Brown facilitator.
Oh,
And
wow.
she talks about, I love Brene Brown, she's amazing. She talks about being radically responsible. And in the midst of so many things that can happen to us in the world, we can have that relationship breakdown, that job breakdown, that group of people did this happened over there, politically that happened over here. But ultimately, we're responsible for how we feel and what we do in this world and the actions and the steps that we take to be able to move forward or not. And my default was, there's a big problem, run and create a new life. Big problem, run and create a new life, rather than, this is a big problem. What can I take here? What can I take accountability for here? What can I fix within my own self here? What can I heal within my own self here? And then through that healing, there's grace for that person that was maybe acting out of their brokenness as well. When I started to realize how much brokenness I had, I could look at the world and be like, they're just acting out of their brokenness as well. And it just becomes a thing rather than an emotional attachment that then causes brain damage, because that's what happens when we have emotional things that happen to us. They are so in our body that they become etched in our mind as well. And that creates how we act and think moving forward. And the fact that we've got this information today that shows us how important it is to be radically responsible for our own mind, heart, and bodies. It's not a selfish thing. It's not about, just correcting yourself and make yourself a me monster. No, it is about correcting, fixing, healing ourselves to the best of our ability so that we are better citizens in the world. And so we're more accepting, more inclusive, more lovable, and more loving to those around us and in our sphere.
It tends to happen around a certain age, I think, for us women.
Probably. Yeah.
Totally. But or certain experiences that people might have that, are quite confronting. But I think it's so important to continue to speak about it, because you don't have to be 35, 40, 45, 50 to make these acknowledgements within yourself.
No.
You can do it earlier. And, we've both got two girls each. So we've got the ability to help influence their lives and their perception of life as well.
It becomes their foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
Like our healing at this point in our life. I love the term, and it is ancient text, such a time as this. And that's because, and I believe, as much as my head will go, oh gosh, Bessie, I wish you went through this and woke up 20 years ago because you'd be so much more advanced. I know for a fact that I went through this now so that my daughters could see the process, not so that they could hear about the process, but so they could witness it themselves.
Exactly.
Now, Indy went through the process with me when we were living in regional Victoria. She saw the breaking, she saw the before and then the break, and then she's seen the after. And when we walk the walk for our kids, it becomes ingrained in them and it becomes their platform. Our growth and what we achieve emotionally and what the real stuff about our life, that is what we're platforming our children off, and that's where they're starting. Our head becomes their footstool.
It's interesting. How old are your girls now?
10 and 5.
Okay, so that's such great ages to still be able to help mold them. Mine are getting that.
1 to 7.
Yeah, exactly. And you probably still got a little bit more time with Indy, maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
But now mine are 12 and 14, and you see that breakaway of independence, wanting to be their own selves, not being molded or advised or, told how you should think, which I get. They're becoming young adults.
Yeah.
But yeah, nurturing that time when you can is so key, I think. And hopefully I did that in that time period enough to take them through. I'm sure I did.
You did. I love the way that you parent, which is why we partnered together to do parenting content, because it was so wise and real back then. And that was
Yeah.
10 years ago that we joined forces back then.
Yeah.
But what I love, again, such a time as this, is today we just have so much more information about how we develop. And so much of it is that mind, body, soul connection. So even like, for example, this is actually traumatizing for me. Gosh, it literally is traumatizing for me. But I remember doing a job with you. Sonny was so little, and probably half of my fall actually came because I did this job that I'd done, this project before I'd kind of crashed, and Sonny was still really quite young.
Let's frame it for everyone. So are you talking about when we went to a red carpet arrival for a music?
It was just that whole season. It was all of that. So how old was she?
She was 4 months old. We landed an opportunity to do red carpet arrivals at the ARIA Awards, a big music awards festival. And it was interstate, and it was raining incredibly heavily, I must add. We decided, and you agreed, to come along with your baby, who was, I don't even think she was 4 months old. You were
so
still
young.
breastfeeding. Yeah, it was full on. But we were so dedicated to this and being involved in this and making it work and making it happen that you said, I'm coming and I'm bringing the baby. And I'm like, you sure we don't have to do it? No, I'm coming. We had an amazing successful video come out of it, but my goodness, it was full on for you. And yeah,
It was so full on. And even I think the thing that's the most traumatic is that looking at where my values were back then and what my values are today, it doesn't feel like me, Maritza. Like it was so removed from who I am as a person and what I know to be right and what I know to be true. And it's got nothing to do with taking a chance and going. It was that I didn't think at that time, is this the right thing for me and my baby? My first thing was, is this the right thing for my career? And that is such a product of an industry where you have to fight your butt off in order to feed your family. And the way that the industry is set up and the culture that we have of you've got to keep going, you've got to keep driving, and you've got to keep being successful, and you've got to be someone in order to be something, the human doing rather than the human being. The fact that we will nurture the human doing over the human being 9 times out of 10 for so long is so backwards and so wrong. Like now there is so much of an understanding, but what Sonny marinated in those first few years, it was the arias. And then it was, I remember doing a thing and trying to get sponsorship for Batoki, and we're doing like different people raising my children. And not that there's anything wrong with having, help, but my heart posture was wrong. And that's what led me to fall. But I should not have jumped into a full-blown TV production with my daughter being 4 months old. And that should have been easy for me. And today I'd be like, absolutely no way, that's not for me. Good on you, keep going. But I'm going to do what's right for me. And I know that what's right for me will come for me in the future, in the right time.
That now. And unfortunately, there's so many probably people in this industry still who think, if I don't say yes, well, then someone else will just get the job and then I'll miss out.
I'm going to be irrelevant, or if I don't keep up, all of that is just a culture train, and we need to jump off it because it's not right. Even the whole, I better not use my voice because of cancel culture, or I better not do this, or I better not say that. Like this is not truth. This is just how we have accepted life to be in entertainment and in media in Australia. And then we wonder why there's no women supporting women. It's something we're really good at saying, but we're not necessarily great at actioning because there's still so much competition and there's still so much this and so much unauthenticity in a space where, so the fact that we are waking up now at 40 years old, I think is the most perfect timing, because we are really bringing this to the surface and dealing with it and actually processing it and healing from this culture that's rubbish in order to teach our children a much better way through our walk.
Oh, it's so good to hear you speak like this, and it's so important. I want to know what you've learned about your circle of influence, about the people that you have surrounding you in your day-to-day life now. Taking a quick minute to interrupt this conversation to let you know about something exciting I am growing. As you might know, I'm incredibly passionate about helping people to find and share their voice, especially if their voice is one that aims to create positive change in others. And I've launched a podcast network with purpose. It's called the Guide Your Light Network, that features podcasts and voices that inspire, educate, and transform listeners. And we have a library of podcasts that are part of our network that truly embody that mission, and we're looking for more. If this has sparked interest in you and you are ready to start exploring speaking and using your voice in this way, I'd love for you to check it out. Also, if you have something important to say and you don't know where to start to bring that to life, we can also help you to craft your authentic message through our Guide Your Light online sessions to help you get super clear on your intention, messaging, and structure needed to launch a podcast of your own that is authentically you. Just head over to guideyourlightnetwork.com.
Oh, it's the most important thing. We are literally like, what do they say? Show me your 5 people that you hang around the most, your 5 closest people, and I'll tell you your future. And it is absolutely the truth. In fact, I feel like it's more than 5 people though. I think we get to this age and we go, okay, I've got relationships with these people and I'm trying to attain relationships in that space and that space, but how is it actually shaping and molding my family? And how is that helping me as a person? And how am I contributing back into society again? Because it should be one healthy ecosystem. The way that we receive love and guidance and wisdom and correction's a huge thing. We're scared of it. But we should be able to have people in our life that we trust enough to be able to correct us. And then we can do the same thing, all of those things moving forward into the next person. We have a margin of not very much in our week. We do our jobs, we raise our children, we cook, we clean, we do all the stuff that we need to do. And there's probably, like people say it's 10%. Sometimes I feel it's much less in there to be able to share quality time, quality conversations with people. We need to make sure that that margin of life that we're spending with key people is life-bringing time with life-bringing people. We have to. It's vital to the success of us as people. And when I say success, I don't mean anything to do with career. I mean whether we can stand up and face another day. That's what success is. Whether you can get up and you know who you are and you enjoy your life and you can actually find contentment and you can find peace. And I'm not saying 24/7 because that's, again, unachievable. But we've got our values in place and we know why we're doing life. I don't know who I heard it from, but especially as a creative person, and I know that you'll be able to resonate as well, you're constantly creating. You've been created that way, Maritza. And I have too. I see it in my kids as well. They're creatives. My husband's creative. Creativity is not about like us just creating to create. It's about us being us in the world and creating for the world. So we have to be aware of who we are as people so that when we are churning this stuff out, we're doing it in a way that someone else can pick it up because it resonates, because there's truth in it. What part of my journey do I want to hide? Or if I'm changing the perspective, what part of my journey can I share that will release somebody else in their journey? Again,
I love how you are articulating exactly how I feel. You're articulating it so beautifully. I think what I learned from you too over the years, it's amazing how much I learned from you, Bess, but you don't engage in gossip ever. You walk away. So it's very hard as a woman to disengage from gossip because gossip is built into the way women are sometimes. I just don't know why. It's just the way women love to talk, but sometimes it turns into negative talk, and not engaging, choosing to step away is a big, how do you describe what it is? It is showing people that it's okay not to engage in this type of conversation.
Yeah. The desire to talk, sometimes you've got something in you and you want to talk, but just having that self-control to understand, and it doesn't happen all the time. Like there's obviously moments, but deeply rooted in my value system is the knowing that life comes from the tongue. Life or death can come from the tongue. And one spark of information in the wrong hands, in somebody else's inability to be able to have self-control, can literally turn into a flaming fire. So just understanding that responsibility of what we hold in our language, and also understanding, again, the margin that we have in our life. I don't think we should intentionally create a life that creates drama. We know that drama is just so toxic. Half the reason I left the entertainment industry and the media industry is because the way the media industry is going is it's just all about drama.
I struggle to watch TV
I can't.
now.
I don't watch TV, therefore now I don't make it, because it was doing my head in at everything that needed to be in media wasn't selling because no one's watching TV. So for it to be able to sell, they had to create drama points in something that should just be a plain renovation show or should just be a plain cooking show. But no, there has to be this element of bickering and toxicity. And it just so badly grated on my value system, because it's amplifying a culture that is so damaging. I can't personally thrive in that space myself. Like, I've heard things being said before, and everyone has, that if you hear them and you align and you will come into agreement with what is being said, it can really damage you as a person. It can really like cut down your belief system. There's another saying that I love, and it's the little foxes that spoil the vine. And what this means is, if you have a winery, the big foxes, the people that are guarding the winery, they can see the big foxes and they can get the big foxes out. But the little foxes, they sneak in through the fences and they don't go for the low-hanging fruit that is on the grapevines. They actually go for the root of the tree, and they gnaw at the root of the tree until this vine is completely dead. And I think gossiping and bickering and this culture that comes through of dramatizing everything and needing to have a drama, and our brains are wired that way to need that conflict. So we're kind of negative geared in that way. So making stuff like that in this world, knowing that it's a trap because our brains are going to find some form of buzz out of it, but it's so damaging to a person. It's the opposite of creating identity in people. It's literally stripping people of identity and worth.
You know what? I'm going to challenge people next time they're watching a TV reality show to put a producer hat on, because we made TV, so we understand how these things are created, and we're so conscious of it, of the drama element that needs to be in it. Yes, it's enjoyable to watch sometimes for that reason, because we believe we enjoy it, but ultimately we don't. But I challenge people to look at the next reality TV show they're watching and just look at how long they're actually watching drama.
That's right.
Yeah.
I could not be adding to that problem anymore. For my whole existence, and especially this whole awakening that I've had in understanding who I am as a person, was so much about putting the right thing in my ears and in my eyes and in my body, and actually moving my body to be able to understand who I am enough to want to live. And it is such a big thing. And it's not just me that faces it. Like, we have got the world against us so much of the time that it is so vitally important, again, to have that radical responsibility for us to build who we are. That sometimes, and most of the time, that stuff that's on TV, all the media that's out there, all cancel culture that's out there, all gossip culture that's out there, is just so derailing from the goal of being whole and putting sound things in our mind and our heart so that we can speak sound things in this world. It is from our heart, all things flow, Maritza. If our heart is intertwined with gossip and slander and drama and the need to cut that person down and cut this person down, how are we going to speak life and speak goodness or create with life-breathing creativity? How do we change the world that way?
So when someone who is in media for all this time no longer believes in the medium, asking for a friend. I mean, I obviously pivoted into podcasting and have made that my world, and having these deep conversations is I get to still use my skill set as a presenter and a host and a producer, but I'm doing it in a way that is true to my beliefs. Tell me about what you're working on now, because it excites me so much. And, you know, you've gone back to the old parts of you that you love and brought it into one whole new offering. So tell us what you're doing.
Thank you for letting me share about this, because it's really exciting for me, because it's the first time in my life I'm actually doing something with the desire and the ability and the creativity, but also a deep, deep, deep knowing that it is needed in the world today. So I feel like for the first time ever, I feel equally weighted.
Yeah.
My ambition is there because I'm an ambitious person, but I've also got the life experience where I'm feeling like I'm sharing something that might be of value to somebody else. So it excites me. But basically, abundance, the movement, and obviously the word abundance, 3/4 of it is dance, is movement for the body, mind, and soul. And it's come out of the process of me falling and then breaking and then rebuilding. And part of the rebuilding process was coming back to my roots and realizing what it was that was actually helping me and what it was that was actually me. So I started dancing when I was 4 years old. And the reason I danced was because I was a hyperactive young girl. My mum knew that I loved music. My culture is very much based on music. My dad was in a Greek band when he was young. He was always dancing. So if I'd hear a song, if I'd hear music, that was me on the dance floor. I cleared many weddings, much to my embarrassment today, but there's so many VHS videos of me in weddings clearing the dance floor because the music would come on and there's 3-year-old Bessie, just getting on the floor and dancing. And I realized now as an adult that because I went through dance and I was able to do it and do it professionally as well, what I actually loved about it was the way that it allowed me to express emotions through songs that were articulating exactly what I needed to say and didn't say, but also what it was doing to my brain in the way of regulating my emotions and helping me to feel good and feel up. Didn't matter what was going on in my life. So I actually used dance as a tool before I even knew that it was a tool. And anytime I felt anxious, anytime I felt I was going through stuff, I lived in a small country town, and in that small country town, being Greek and living in a petrol station with chickens running around the front of the petrol station wasn't a cool thing. So I did cop a lot of, bullying or racism, whatever it was, that's what I marinated in as a young girl. And I didn't like those feelings. And we didn't speak about those things in my house because my mum and dad were just busy being resilient themselves. So all of that emotion stayed in my body as a current of you don't fit in and you need to fit in and you're not right, you're not good enough. And I realized that I was actually taking that fear and that insecurity and all of those yucky feelings, and I put them into my dance, and they were helping me to feel better. They were helping me to be able to get my brain back to feeling good when it was feeling bad. When I was feeling low, I'd be able to release endorphins. When I was feeling not good enough, achieving choreography allowed me to feel dopamine because it's a sense that's what we release when we achieve something. So then going through the process of falling, fast forward all those years and being in the country, I realized that when I would feel bad again, I'd have this deep yearning to go back to dancing. A lot of the job in production, as you would know, it was all computer-based stuff. It was a lot of calls and cold calling and pitching and a lot of stuff that was not moving. So my body wasn't getting what it needed anymore. And I realized, quick, smart, I need to get back into the studio. So I'd hire studios. Another thing I needed in my healing journey was community, and I didn't have it. So I started inviting people to dance with me. And then I was seeing just the positive impact, not just in myself, but in others, because we were sharing a moment of time together with a positive song, moving our bodies, achieving choreography, dopamine release, endorphin release, connection, oxytocin. All of this stuff was happening, and it was really quite impacting. And so about 3 years ago, I started Abundance the Movement, but very underground. I didn't call it anything. I knew the name from back then, but I just, as I said, just started kind of bringing all the mediums together, the dance, the media, the stuff that I had learned through production, the brand integration, the desire to want to help people. And now today, that's what Abundance the Movement is. So it is physical classes. It helps people to be able to use their body to connect, to learn choreography, to challenge themselves. But it is also a lifeline to be able to have media that is essentially a channel that has life-breathing content on it that they can be interactive with and practical with.
Oh, I love it so much. And every time you share some of your videos and of your events, my deep FOMO kicks in and I wish I was there because I'm not there anymore. You're coming to me.
I'm
Excellent.
coming to you.
That is really good news. Otherwise, I'm definitely coming to you. But what you do is bring joy into people's lives, even if it's for an hour. And you also, I mean, I've been in some of your dance classes and you've tried to choreograph me, which is a challenge in itself. But it's also breaking through the discomfort if you are not used to dancing in a group, or if you are not used to learning a routine, or embarrassing yourself. It feels like that sometimes, getting out of your comfort zone, but you're also having fun. You're playing and listening to great music. You're around great humans. It's a win for everyone. So I'm sure when everyone leaves that, how do you think they feel when they leave? Well, what do you aim for them to feel when they leave?
Well, I always say, so abundance, the word abundance means so many things. It means to fill, to overflow. That's what the literal translation of abundance is. But it also means more than enough. So both of those things are my aim when people, I want them to come empty, because that's why we come. Like that, the fact that they can come and do something when they need to do it is such an achievement in itself. How many times have you been rock bottom and you've taken a step to do something good? Just the step is the achievement. So I always say there are 3 steps to abundance, and I know that there's not 3 steps to anything, but these do help me, and I share them in my class as well. So the first one is attendance, then it's ascendance, then it's guidance, and then it's abundance. And obviously the word dance is in all of those words, but if I was to break it down quickly, attendance is the first thing, stepping up, showing up. Showing up is such a massive thing in our growth, because all of the time, most of the time, our body is saying, I don't want to show up. So overriding that and hijacking the system and showing up anyway is huge. I don't dance. I've got 2 left feet. I don't want to do this. I don't know how to pick up choreography. I can't possibly. I look bad. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. Oh, I don't look the same as the teacher. Just showing up is a massive, massive thing. So attendance, ascendance is rising higher than what our default is, because generally our default has ping-ponged through negative situation after negative situation. And our default is not necessarily the thing that's good for us. So rising higher than that default, that's why my classes are on rooftops. It's actually a physical representation that when you get onto this roof, you are choosing to not do life down there. You've ascended up, and we're going to do life from this level right now.
Oh, you're in the right city for it too.
And then guidance, I think it's so important. Like you were saying at the start of this podcast, I get so much from you, and you got so much from me, because when you've got the right people around you, they become your guides. Like they become people that can hold your hand and take you through that dark channel when that season comes. And life is an ebb and flow. There are the great times and there are the crappy, dark times. Who you have around you is going to be what's reflected and what you lean on. So guidance is that beautiful community of wise people that we can do life with. And guidance for me is also my faith in God. And then abundance is understanding that it's not about what we have. It is about how we feel inside. That's what makes us abundant. It has got nothing to do with material possessions or wealth, and it has got everything to do with how rich we are inner.
I love that. That's beautiful. What feedback have you had from people when they do come in and they're struggling to show up and then they end up doing a class? What have they said to you? What is some feedback?
I get so much feedback, Maritza, and every time it blows my mind. I have people travel to do these classes, because at the moment my studio is in Albert Park, and people are traveling 2.5 hours, and every time they do, I'm bawling. I literally do the class and turn around and I see everyone beaming and smiling, and there's not been one class I've done so far. Lucky there's wind and a beautiful sunset, so no one can see the fact that I'm crying, but I'm crying every time when I look around and there are 30 beaming faces behind me, and people are feeling that euphoric feeling, because the elements alone do it. Exercise does that. Good community does that. A sunset that is glorious does that. The wind of life blowing in your face, the music that we are listening to, it is such a combination of all of those incredible elements. People leave there going, my day is better. Like my heart is full, and now I've got the grace in my heart in order to be able to bring that into my family when I come home. A lot of people also want my playlists. Every time they're like, can you please give me that playlist? Because music's such a big part of it.
Yeah.
Like what we are listening to, and that's again the spark of why it started for me. That song articulated what I needed to say that I didn't say, but my body needed to hear. So that having the right playlist, massive.
Yeah. And I think, you've articulated really well that words are very important to you as well. I love the way you've chosen the right words to take you on this journey, to explain to others what it's felt like. And even the fact that you call it a movement, it's the abundance movement. That's obviously a play on words as well, because people are moving, but it is a movement, because you're shifting people. You're not just doing a dance class. You're not just holding a space for people to learn a dance. You're helping to shift them to help them grow, to help them see things differently?
Moving is so, I think that was one of the things that I sank in. The thing that when I felt derailed, I held myself back in the past, but my body did it for me. So if you've ever had a past pain, how hard is it to move forward from that pain when your body is saying, don't go there again, or that hurts, or don't trust that person, or whatever it is that your brain is telling you from that negative experience. So just understanding that most of the time in life, moving forward is so hard, and being able to do that with the right people through positive things that work for us, I think that's a huge thing. So I don't know where this journey is taking me, but at the moment, I'm not, if this is a thing for a little while, or if it's a thing for a long time, I know it's a thing for now, for me personally, because I get a lot out of it myself. And I really enjoy doing it.
I think you're the next Tony Robbins, just quietly. You are very motivating. Bessie, what do you want to be remembered for?
I don't know, but this is the first year in my life that the word legacy has actually come into my heart. I am a words person. You just reminded me of that. I really am a words person. I think it's just really, if I not so much that it needs to be remembered, but I hope people start to honor who they are as people, because in a world that really has gone the wrong direction and has started to tell us that we need to be the same, and that we need to fit in, and that we need to all conform, and that we have to do things in a certain cookie cutter way, I hope people feel valued and feel strong enough to define who they are, the good parts of them and the quirky parts of them, to truly love who they are in order to be able to love those around them and change the world that way.
Beautiful. Now, we've all been inspired by mentors or books or conversations, but was there one thing that stands out to you in your life that was something that you couldn't unhear? And I know there's probably been hundreds of these occasions where, you've read something and gone, wow, okay, shit, something needs to change. But has there been something that's made you really stop in your tracks and want to make some positive changes in your life, or change the way you see the world?
Yes. It wasn't actually something that I heard from a person. I don't think, maybe I did. But when you asked me this question, I think the most valuable part, and something that I hold on to really dearly, is more of a picture that I get in my mind of a bow and arrow. And when I think about this bow and arrow and how it's affected my life and the meaning of it, I think sometimes we need to draw back, like the way we do draw back a bow and arrow, draw back into our past, or even draw back into our culture and generations of our culture, in order to know, like when you release that bow and arrow, in order to know how to do the future. And so much of our identity is based in that too. Like, who are we? What are the depths of us? Who are the deep parts of us? What's the part of us that was young that is vital and important, that we can, catapult forward to take us into the future? So if there was, I guess it's not really one thing to say, but think of that bow and arrow. What can you draw from the past that is good, that will help you to release into the future, even if it is like old cultural wisdom? I think we need a lot of that in 2024 and beyond, going back to that old wisdom, or the old way, even our food and the things that we do in life that they used to do in communities that was healthy. Let's draw a little bit of that in order to be able to move forward healthy in the future.
Oh, for those who are listening to this and not watching it on YouTube, I have a massive grin and smile on my face. So thank you truly for everything that you have shared here today. You're just
love you.
magic. See, I love you too, babe. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to put all of your contact details in the show notes for anyone who is local to your area in Melbourne, Australia, and would love to get to some of your dance classes, or perhaps hire you as a motivational speaker, because I think that would be absolutely incredible as well. Can't wait to see what's next for you, Bess, but I look forward to having way more conversations with you in the next few months as well. Yay. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the show. What did you think? And what did you feel? Let us know by leaving me a message on the Things You Can't Unhear Instagram community page. And if you can, give us some ratings love on your favourite listening platform.